One of the greatest mysteries of the world is understanding the human mind and understanding how it ticks and how we can harness its capabilities to improve our performance. I'm here today with Dr. Melissa Ferrier, a psychologist, businesswoman and mother of 4. Welcome, Melissa.
Thanks, Kelly.
You've had a remarkable journey beginning in the southern Mallee town of Birchip and ending up studying psychology at Melbourne University, completing your doctorate in clinical psychology at La Trobe University. You've practiced as a clinical child and adolescent and family psychologist and run a business in Camperdown, managing 4 psychologists yourself. I believe you've even developed a web-based computer program.
Yes, that's right, Kelly. Can't say too much about the computer program, but we're hoping to launch that early in 2015. And we're hoping to break new ground, being able to deliver psychological services to people irrespective of where they live, even if they're in the most remote parts of Australia.
Wonderful. That's really promising. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and a bit about your background? Coming from a rural background and being a small town, and you've had to go to Melbourne and deal with all the big city and the pace of it. Can you describe your background for us?
Yeah, I grew up in a small community, small rural farming community in northern Victoria. I grew up on a farm, and so I spent most of my childhood outdoors, exploring the natural landscape, riding horses, climbing trees and helping with farm work and doing all the other usual things that farm kids enjoy doing. I attended a really small school with probably less than 300 students between prep and year 12. And when I was 17, I headed off to university.
And that's a bit of a shock going to Melbourne from a small country town, is it?
Oh, well, it was a shock. I was very excited to go to Melbourne. I was lucky enough to live at St Hilda's College, which is attached to the University of Melbourne, and I was able to meet like-minded peers, and I really enjoyed my time there. It was a fantastic introduction to university life.
So you found some support at university?
That's right. It was a fantastic way to start university with really like other rural people.
Yeah. So one of the things that's fundamental to a student's success is planning and time management. Can you tell me a bit about your thoughts on this and some strategies that some of the young people can employ?
Yeah, sure, Kelly. I guess one of the things I talk with my Year 12 students about is really how to plan for their study time. And I encourage them to choose short bursts of study over long sessions of study. And we are creatures of habit, and study skills do take time to develop. And I like them to practice this. My personal preference is a 4 a.m. start and a 4-hour burst of work. But this doesn't always appeal to my adolescent clients. The adolescent body clock is a little better designed for late nights. It's a biological function. And so if a 4 a.m. start seems like an impossible task, it might be more like a 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. start. So I find this is really about concentrated effort and attention, minimal distractions. It's important for adolescents to have a go at what works, but the key is this short burst of study for maximum outcomes.
And there's different people do different things, don't they? Sometimes it would suit people to work early and other people wouldn't. Is that right?
That's right, yes. I mean, I was always an early morning riser, but for some of my adolescent clients, they find that idea absolutely abhorrent, the worst thing I could ever possibly have suggested. So in that case, it would be a late night stretch.
So another issue that a lot of young people and students at high school or university come across is trying to manage their own mental health and including anxieties and fears and avoidance issues. It's important to understand strategies to assist this. Can you give us your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I have a few strategies that I talk with my adolescent clients about. Mental health's important. Anxiety is a normal part of a life, and so we do need to manage that. But in terms of some of the basics, I'll go through them. Number 1 on my list is sleep. Adolescents actually need about 9 hours of sleep, and sleep's important for your brain to process information. It's important for attention and concentration, for learning and building new memories. And we need sleep to consolidate all of our hard work during the day. So it's uploaded into the hippocampus, which is the memory part of our brain. And sleep's also linked in with mental well-being, so we need to take it seriously. Number 2 on my list is food. As part of the process of learning huge amounts of new information in Year 12 and uploading this into our brain, we really need to have a great diet. Brains are an expensive organ. We need about 500 calories per day just to keep our brains.
That's quite amazing, isn't it?
It's
a large amount of calories in a day.
That's right. It's a quarter of the average calorie intake. So brains are expensive. We need to look after them and feed ourselves really good, healthy food. Number 3 on my list is exercise, particularly the cardiovascular exercise where there's an increase in heart rate. This is great for brains, of course, but it's going to help minimise anxiety symptoms. So it's really important. But if people don't want to do increased heart rate, cardiovascular exercise, even a brisk walk or a 30-minute walk once a day will actually have enormous benefits.
So there's some students out there that are so anxiety-ridden and so fearful as the approaching exams come that they either don't hand in their assignments or they don't even attend exams. Is it important for them to keep in mind the light at the end of the tunnel, or is there another strategy you can suggest?
Yeah, I think keeping in mind the light at the end of the tunnel is a really good point, and I think this is really what you're talking about here is motivation and having a goal in mind. And it's really hard to commit to this year of work or these 4 a.m. starts. It's really hard to keep walking along this road if there's no motivation, if there's no goal at the end of it. So this is a really important part of the journey, is having goals and having really clear motivation. What lies outside of Year 12? Year 12 is just a moment in time.
It's
a means to an end.
That's right. There's a whole new phase of life after that, isn't there? Now, is it important to speak up and get support if you're feeling you're overwhelmed? It
is important to speak up and get help. And there are lots of places where young people can go to receive help. Even online is a great resource for tips and tricks for mental health. And, of course, an online service can be accessed 24 hours a day. But schools are a fantastic resource. Parents are a fantastic resource.
And even some of the older siblings or community members that they might know.
Yeah. That's right, yes. Really, support's
can
important.
Be from anywhere, can't they?
Support's important, and speaking about when there are difficulties is important.
Now, what strategies could you suggest to take in large amounts of information and do it in an efficient way? Because often we come up to exam times and they're given textbooks which have slabs and slabs of information in it, and it can be overwhelming. What tips can you suggest?
Yeah, there's a couple of tips, Kelly. I actually prefer presenting information in a visual manner, because I think if we use the visual system, we're going to get a faster upload into working memory, and you'll be able to hold that information more clearly in your mind and recall that information faster during an exam. So many students do rote learn information, but it's actually more efficient if the information is presented in a meaningful way, such as through a mind map. And there are lots of visual organisational tricks that students can work. So we could map the information visually and organise it into clear themes. Another idea is to colour code our notes so that topics are associated with a particular colour, and this will lead to an easier recall during an exam.
With the mind mapping, can you just go into that a little bit? Can it be pictures, or does it be words?
Yeah, it could be pictures, it could be words, it could be themes, it's really just organising that information in the most simple manner possible. It might be a flow chart, a diagram, a way of connecting themes and points, so that there might be a lot of information contained in that diagram, but it's actually chunked into organised elements.
I see. So it's sort of like training your brain.
It is training your brain, yes.
Yeah. Now, is there any value to group study?
I think there's always value to doing things in a social context, and working in groups is a fantastic example, helping each other learn, educating each other, challenging each other with questions and different takes on the same problem. Yeah, this is fantastic.
So often when you explain a concept or an idea to someone, you actually reinforce it in your own brain.
Oh,
is that
absolutely,
right?
You know, teaching's one of the best ways to actually consolidate learning.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? Do you have a message for young people about staying at school to year 12 or equivalent? Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I think it's important to stay in year 12, and it is one year. It's a huge commitment, but it's only 1 year, and the big picture is really what comes after year 12. I think, again, this comes back to goals and motivation and having some kind of idea. Where are we walking on this journey? And it reminds me to talk to you about rewards. I think it's really important that we're doing all of this hard work, that we actually do experience some kind of reward. In particular, we're going to get, from a brain point of view, we're going to get a really nice release of dopamine, which is a type of neurotransmitter. And this is released when a reward's expected or a goal's been achieved. So who doesn't want to experience that kind of natural high?
Yeah, that's right.
Reward's important. We can build in rewards in lots of different ways. It might be following that 4-hour burst of study that we reward ourselves with a really healthy breakfast or a run or something, or a walk or a movie.
Yeah, that's right.
There are lots of ways to reward ourselves, but even just working towards that goal of completing exams and sticking to a study schedule, we're going to get those really great hormones or neurotransmitter feedback, and we're going to be reinforced for our very hard work.
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling that you're reinforcing the theme of preparation.
Absolutely.
And that can reduce anxieties down the track when it comes to exam time and handing in those assignments. Is that right?
That's right. Preparation's number one. I think we have to accept the fact that there's no shortcut. We really do have to go into this with a very clear map, and it's going to be difficult, but that's part of life, and it's a commitment, but it's a very short space of time.
That's right.
And there is an end in sight.
That's right. They have to remember that, I think. And fear really comes about through not having the information. Is that right?
That's right. And fear's a part of that survival part of that brain. Fear's about hitting the amygdala, which is a midbrain structure. Fight or flight. Any of the Year 12 students studying psychology will know all about the amygdala. So fear is a part of that. We don't want to be in the midbrain structures. We want to be preferably in the left prefrontal cortex, but we just want to be in the smart brain.
So by putting in that preparation and plugging in the information
Planning
into our brain,
talking it through, using language,
we can just get rid of that fear because we have the information that we need to do the task.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Another question I have is around mentors and inspirational people in your life. Did you have any of those when you were going through, HSC or in building up to HSC?
Yeah, I had a really great English teacher who was a fantastic mentor and support, and taught me or gave me a love of literature and learning, and that was a really important thing for me. I may have mentioned to you that I wanted to leave school because I planned to become a journalist.
Yes, you did.
And I managed to get a possible cadetship, and I planned to leave school. I think it was at the end of year 10 or perhaps in year 11, and my English teacher wrote on one of my essays, anyone who can write like this needs and plans on leaving school needs her head read.
Lucky you had her in your life, wasn't it?
So I decided to stay on at school and consequently completed year 12 and went on to university, and obviously I'm glad that I did choose that path.
And I've just realised I'm showing my age here talking about
HSC
instead of VCE.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, look, so it's really just a stepping stone, isn't it, this last year in schooling for the rest of their life, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And they've got to remember that this is only a short period and for what's going to set them up for the rest of their life, and it's just something they have to work through.
That's right. Plan it out. Have a really good map for where you're going. Have some great support networks in place. and just remember that it's really 1 year out of your life.
Well, look, thanks to Dr. Melissa Ferrier for talking to us today. It's been a very insightful talk with you today.
Thanks for having me, Kelly.